Okay, so as running becomes a more and more popular sport, there's a whole lot of information out there. You and I were talking a little bit earlier about perhaps some misinformation or things that have been important in the past, but now they're stressed so much that maybe people overdo it.
Yeah, I think the one we were talking about earlier, it's always in the world of hydration, where hydration is absolutely important and is a vital part of any kind of training program. We've had people say, well, if the little hydration or what I've been taught is good, then I'll overdo that. People have really actually got themselves into trouble by what they were doing, in a sense, trying to help themselves.
Okay. Let's say that you were going to say, three, four main tips training wise that people should consider so that they don't have to come see you with an injury.
Most of the time, I'll say, okay, why don't you start with a run walk program? Maybe walk for 5 minutes, run for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, run for 5 minutes, and that's your 20-minute workout. Then I like at that stage, I think they can then increase 10 to 20%, and I think at that stage, at a lower time frame, they can go to 20%. So they can go from that 20 minutes to 24 minutes. The big thing early on, I really think, is this recovery idea. And
Mhm.
so I'll say when you first start for the first 4 to 6 weeks, that I don't want you don't going back-to-back days. Now with that, if they want to do some cross training in between on the bike or the elliptical or do some non-impact loading things on that in between day, I'll let them do that.
So, for new runners, people who are slowly building up their mileage with the goal of maybe one day running a marathon or longer distance races, do you recommend some variability to their running schedule? For instance, interval training or hill running to go along with their longer runs?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the main thing I try to do is ask them what their goal is. If it's usually the first timers, I usually tell them to minimize their interval training in the sense that intervals are to go faster.
Okay.
The flip side of that is if I've got more of experience or somebody's run a couple marathons, now they want to go faster. You can't go faster running the same pace, more mileage. That will not make you go faster. So if you want to go faster, you're going to have to change your techniques, and you're going to have to build in more interval training. With the terrain, I think it's being making it varied, just making it more interesting is helpful for people. The other thing, it depends on where you're going to run, and in terms of if this marathon or this half marathon has hills in it, then you better run some hills and you better be used to it. The other thing is the whole acclimatization thing. Is I had the opportunity to help out at the Honolulu Marathon. It's in early December. So the problem we had is now all of a sudden you're going to run something that's in 75, 80 degree heat where you may, and they started at crazy early in the morning, but if you've been training in the Northeast and you're going there, you're clearly not acclimatized.
Right.
So I do think it's a little bit trying to do that whole acclimatization thing, which I think is really probably the best prevention against any kind of heat related issues. So I think it is about varying it, making it exciting, but really understanding what your goals are and then getting some coaching to reflect that.